And we welcome you to the OSN pregame show, the Ottawa Senators and the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight. And here to talk about the game, Lee Versage alongside Sens OSN insider Tanner Ryle. Tanner, how are you?
Doing pretty good, Lee. Feel like we've talked a lot the last couple of days, but you're ready for another one to go at it?
Gonna say, get used to it, pal.
Yeah.
Tonight, we'll be on after the game. Tomorrow, we'll be on after the game. Thursday, maybe before and after the game. So lots going on with the Ottawa Senators. But they go into, look, what the way that they are and like where they are in the playoff hunt here. It's pretty easy to say it's the most important week of the year, but it really is the most important week of the year. They are 8 points back of a playoff spot, and they have 3 games in 4 days before the Olympic break. You mentioned that the soft trade deadline and the roster freeze coming up later on in the week. And if they go 3-0 this week, maybe are they back in it? And if they go 0-3, are they definitely out of it? Let's start with, if this team is able to go 3-0 this week, that would make it 6 consecutive games that they had won, and they would be 9-2-2 in their last 13 games. Would that make you a believer if they won all the games this week, regardless of how many points back they are? Because it's hard to speculate exactly what that would be. But if they win all 3 games, are you back to believing that they can make it?
I think a good chunk of the fan base will be. I also think some of it is going to depend on how teams like the Boston Bruins play. I think a lot of people saw that crazy outdoor game yesterday. I mean, that's got to be
it was wild.
Something we chat about later on. That's got to be one of the best outdoor games that's ever happened. The big comeback there. Nice to see Tampa take the win there. I think if you're the Sens, you're happier than Boston getting the 2 points. But yeah, I do think if they are able to pull off these 3 games, the fan base is going to be pretty excited. I saw TSN's power rankings was making a lot of rankings today on Sens Twitter, where they were the highest ranked Canadian team.
Oh my God. Stop. You know what? I might put a ban on power rankings on OSN. I might. Yeah, I might. I'm going to take it under consideration. There is nothing worse than somebody's opinion of where teams are ranked. You know what my power rankings are, Tanner? The standings. That's how I power rank the teams.
Anyways, the point I was trying to make is we know the goaltendings have been killing them. Every other analytic, they're pretty much top 5 in the NHL, except for goaltending and PK. We've seen the goaltending turn around recently. Allmark had a great game the other night. So if he can stay hot and the team keeps playing as well as they have, maybe they can go on a bit of a run here. Because to me, it feels like this is a team that maybe they're where Buffalo was right before they went on their run, or the Columbus Blue Jackets, where something just turned with the team and they ran with it. And just seeing the body language and the vibes around the team seem pretty high for where they're at in the standings. I don't think they're out of it by any means, but I think if they do blow games like today, then, you know, maybe they're going to change. But I'm really intrigued as to what Staios is going to do at the end of this week.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to go back to the same question I asked you about a minute ago, 2 minutes ago. You did an unbelievable job of what the fan base would do. Tanner, would you believe that the Senators could get back in it if they win all 3 games this week?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you know who's going to be happy about that. Our man Ethan, Lee rocking the pink. Going to be a good night. And he says 2-1 would give me a level of hope, but not much. Well, thanks for that. It would give you some, but not much. And I don't really know what that means, Ethan. Like, you either have hope or you don't. But you can clarify that. So I was just going to bring this up, and Ethan's bringing it up, so I might as well. One of the stories tonight, gotta hope Shabbat is good, saying he's the second coming of defense for the Senators. Not saying he is, but he's big voice. He's been good lately. I think Thomas Shabbat has been average, but when you take him out, it becomes a very below average defense core. So his game time decision tonight, correct? And we'll see maybe in the warm up. They're going to dress 7 in the warm up tonight.
Correct. Yeah, that's what Jackson Starr had. Allmark to start, and then Shabbat's the game time decision. So otherwise, I guess one of Matt and Powell or Jensen will be playing on their offside. And yeah, I think if they lose Shabbat, I take back whatever I just said, because Tyler Clevin playing on your second pair is not ideal, especially looking at the depth behind him even. Clevin's been playing some great hockey, but make no mistake about it, he's not a top 4 defenseman yet. Maybe one day, but not yet. And if they lose Shabbat, that'd be catastrophic for a lot of parts of that team. As we saw earlier in the season when he was down for an extended period, that was probably their worst stretch of hockey.
That's what makes it so difficult with Thomas Chabot. Honestly, like he to me is just not that good, or should be a lot better. But he would come back to you to say the second I'm out of the lineup, we're not nearly as good. And that would be a hard point to argue. And maybe that's a little bit more of how, like, they're not deep in that position whatsoever. And so, for Shabbat to be able to play tonight, I think he goes, because I don't think you get to the warm up and decide that, you know what, guys, I'm close, but you know what? Not going to be able to do it tonight. I think this is a point in the season where everyone's going to play if they possibly can play.
And if he does play, I'd be curious to see what his time on ice is, because maybe he's going to just push through this for the 3 days and make it to the Olympic break, because he knows how big these games are for the team. So that's something I'm going to be watching for sure. If we do see him in the lineup, is what is that time on ice looking like? Is Sanderson playing a little bit more? Is Clevin eating into some of his minutes? What's he like on the power play? Risk can be a big thing for stick handling. How's he going to be controlling the puck? So if he does play, I'll certainly be watching him. But I agree with you. I think if he's warming up, he's probably going to play.
Right. The one thing that happens in this scenario, though, that if you know it and I know it, that it's a wrist injury and he's possibly going to play, and if he gets there, man, I don't think the Penguins are going to let him do very much, and it becomes very difficult, right? Like, he's not really a big threat to score or to, big shots on goal guy, but if your wrist is hurt, you're not doing that. Like, you're pass first all the time. And so the Penguins will know that as well, that he will be a pass first guy. Some interesting stats coming into this game. So for the Ottawa Senators, they have dominated the Pittsburgh Penguins. And they've dominated the Pittsburgh Penguins as a team. And they've dominated them individually. As a team, they're 7-0-1 in their last 8 games against the Pittsburgh Penguins, including a 4-0 victory at home in their last game before Christmas. And you're like, really? Wow. That's different from how it used to be.
Yeah, especially when you think back to the playoff series and the days where Crosby was in his absolute prime. That felt like it wasn't a good game to be watching. Yeah.
Yeah, they lost every time. In every big game. But you know who else has been, he's been dominant. How about a perfect 7-0 record with a .930 save percentage and a 2.32 goals against for Linus Ullmark in his career against the Pittsburgh Penguins?
Pretty impressive. I mean, if they can get that tonight, I think the Senators would be pretty happy.
I would agree. The only thing, when you talk about stats, though, the only thing that kind of goes against what I just gave you is the fact that Pittsburgh has won 6 in a row and have, count them, 2 regulation losses in their last 17 hockey games. So
what a year for them.
What's that?
What a year for them, just overall.
I know.
I mean, I think everybody was saying, oh my God, they're going to win the draft lottery. They're getting Gavin McKenna.
Yep.
That was the conversation not 6 months ago. And here they are. They've got Stuart Skinner backstopping them. You got Crosby turning the clock back and playing like he's in his prime again. Not that he ever slowed down, but seems like everything's going right for that team. That's great. Get one more run for Sid, the middle-aged man.
So they've, in their last 17 games, They've lost 2 games in regulation. Do you want to know the scores of those games? They lost those games actually back to back, January 10th and January 11th.
Okay.
They lost 2-1 at home to Calgary. And then the very next night, they went into Boston and lost 1-0. That's it. Like, you talk about a team that is playing really good hockey. When your only 2 losses in regulation are 2-1 and 1-0, you're still playing well. Like, you're still holding the other team. It's just not your night. And they have a shootout loss against Tampa and a shootout loss against Columbus, and that's it. And look at some of the teams that they beat. They just went on that Western trip, and they bucked the odds coming home from that Western trip, because usually the first game back at home after you go out on the road for at least 3 or more games, very difficult game to win. But they came back and beat Chicago 6-2 after they went into Seattle, Calgary, Edmonton, and Vancouver. Now, if you want some hope, the Rangers gave them everything they could handle the other night, 6-5. But, you probably don't take the Rangers very seriously. Maybe they don't take Ottawa very seriously. I don't know. But they've basically taken like that 13-2-2 record in their last 17 games is from Christmas on. So this has just been an incredible team that they figured something out. And they also have a condensed schedule like Ottawa does this week, where they're at home tonight. They also will fly out or bus out after the game and go to New York. We'll fly out and play the Islanders, and then they'll also play Buffalo on Thursday. So they have 3 games in 4 nights as well, just like Ottawa does. But as you said, man, oh man, like this, I hate to say that the Penguins are like a plucky underdog, but they kind of are, like a plucky underdog with Crosby and Malkin and Letang, which seems so odd to say, but thought they were going to be at the bottom, and Stuart Skinner's their goalie, and you just didn't think that it was possible.
I mean, just looking at their lines, it's crazy. Like, this is not a deep team. Like, aside from your Crosbys and your Malkins, it almost reminds me of like the Senators of old that didn't have a lot of stars, but they just had these glue guys that came together and played well. I mean, you got Tommy Novak as their second line center. Parker Witherspoon is a top pair defenseman for them right now with Erik Karlsson. Like, Brett Kulak and Ryan Shea is your second pair. That's like, make it make sense. And sure, you got Ben Kindle. He's been pretty sick. Nice pickup for them in the first round of the draft. And Igor Chinnikov, a nice buy low option for them from the Columbus Blue Jackets. But like, when you look at this team on paper, it's like, oh my God, how are they this good?
Right. And to Ethan's point here, see, now Ethan's bringing it with this, okay? I'm actually concerned facing Skinner because he has an unreasonably good record against the Sens. You could only make that better, Ethan, if you gave the record. However, the record is 6-1. Lifetime.
Really?
Yeah. Now, all with Edmonton, right? So you take it with a bit of a grain of salt that Stuart Skinner going from McDavid and Draisaitl to Crosby and Malkin. That's a good life, actually. But yeah, he's 6-1 lifetime. Now, he got a win also against Ottawa, allowing 5 goals. So, you take that 903 save percentage in those games, 2.71 goals against. But the first 2 times he played Ottawa, he let in 5 goals each. After that, he's been real good. So yeah, there's a lot of stats for Pittsburgh, just the way that they're playing. I think that's the big one for me. It's great that Ottawa's had success against the Penguins, 7-0-1 as of late. They're going to feel confident, and It's great that Ullmark has never lost against the Penguins. I mean, imagine saying that against Crosby and Malkin in 8 games. But to me, the more impressive and the record to worry about tonight is the fact that Pittsburgh has lost 2 games in regulation since Christmas, and those games were by 1 goal. Like, this team in their last 17 games is the better team most nights. And they're playing very, very consistently. So that Ottawa has a tall task in front of them this evening. And so for me, I'm going to answer my own question, Tanner. I'm going to say that they're going to have to get 5 points this week. And they're going to have to beat Pittsburgh, and they're going to have to beat Philadelphia, and they're going to have to find a way to push that game in Carolina to get a point and see what they can do in overtime or a shootout. But at that point, you will have players, because they don't have a ton of players going to the Olympics, right? You're going to have most people come back and go on break and think, you know what? We do have a run in us. We do have it. But if you lose all 3 games this week, forget it. Absolutely forget it.
I think even if you drop tonight and tomorrow, maybe Steos is like, all right, well, I'm going to move somebody before the roster freeze.
Maybe he's got something in the holder, and it depends on how these games go.
I would.
Ethan says the betting odds, Ottawa is the favorite, -118. So that's interesting to me. I will have to double check on that, Ethan. Not that I don't believe you. I just don't know why a team that's 13-2-2 in their last 17 and are at home are the underdog against the Ottawa Senators tonight. I have a hard time believing why they would be an underdog.
It's not very far. The Penguins are -102, so it's pretty close.
Yeah, but Ottawa is still a favorite. That is
right.
Surprising to me.
I agree.
I wonder why that is. Maybe it's just that 7-1 record in their last 8 games, and that's what bettors are going on. But this team has been nothing but, like, even in their last 6 wins, they scored 6 goals, 4 goals, 6 goals, 3, 6, and 6. Like, 4 times in 6 games, they have scored 6 goals in the hockey game. I'm not sure why Ottawa would be a favorite tonight at all. I do want to go back quickly, and maybe we can talk about it on the post-game show as well, about that game yesterday, the Stadium Series.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you 3 options on what you thought was the best part of it. Was it A, the get-ups from everybody, including John Cooper, number 1? Like, I have never seen a cooler coach in my life than John Cooper last night. Like, just, it fit him so perfectly. It was like, this is incredible. But not only him, Mark Messier and PK Subban on the broadcast, and like just the whole night of the get-ups from people. So that's A. B, goalie fight. Anytime you have a goalie fight in front of, was it 64,000 fans last night? 64,000 people at that hockey game. And it was like 4 degrees in Florida, which was just incredible. So a goalie fight, or the fact that Tampa came back and did something that they have never done in their franchise history, and that is erase a 4-goal deficit. And they were down 5-1, came back, and won the game in extra time. Of those 3, what was the best part?
It's not the outfits, I'll tell you that. I love good hockey. Really tempted by the goalie fight, because I think that's always fun, and it's awesome seeing like 2 high-profile guys, Vasilevsky and Swayman, being the ones to go at it and the reactions from their bench and stuff. But I think when I'm looking at the game as a whole, that's where I land. And that comeback down, what it was, a 3 or 4 goal deficit, coming all the way back in overtime, winning it in the Stadium Series, like you mentioned, first time in franchise history. Give me that any day of the week. Like if I'm a Tampa fan and I'm at that game, oh my God.
Right. So I would go outfits number 1.
Really?
And I'm not even kidding. I think what that did to sell the game, if people tuned in, like I would never watch a Tampa Boston game unless it was like a very meaningful game in April to decide like a playoff spot. But a regular season game between Tampa and Boston, I'm not watching. The second I saw all of that, I'm like, yeah, I'm in.
They do that for every Stadium Series game.
But not like they did last night. I know they do it, but they didn't do it like they did it last night. It was incredible. Everyone is the Buccaneers and the Pirates, and then, you know, just even the stuff around the rink that made it look like the water was there. Like it was just an unbelievable presentation of a sport that needs that desperately. I thought the way that game, now it helped with the comeback for sure, but I'm still jacked up about it if Boston won that game 5-4. I really am. I just can't get enough of it.
Thank you, Zach. Tanner's wrestling mindset coming through in the hockey analysis. Doesn't care about the pomp and pageantry, just cares about the hockey.
Right?
There we go.
Get the pomp, get the circumstance, get the pageantry.
I like that, but if the game was boring, I wouldn't care. And you know what? I've seen that before.
It was 5-1. It was 5-1, and I was loving it.
I liked the Panthers one better. The Panthers one on New Year's. Did you see that one? I don't remember what their outfits were, but they were pulling up to the stadium in a red carpet, and all the players were in luxury cars. Here's Brad Marchand pulling up in a Ferrari and getting out. Like, that was better to me.
Oh, no.
I get you're a football fan, but, you know, big deal. Not what the Boston ones were, like the revolutionary soldiers or whatever it was. Like looking like the Young Bucks coming out for their match at All In.
Did you like the uniforms last night, Tampa and Boston?
I didn't love the Tampa one.
Oh, like, Zach, this is exactly what is wrong with the youth of today. Okay? I love the Tampa ones. Simple yet effective. I love them. I love both of them, but I like the Tampa ones more. Zach says he did enjoy the creamsicle jerseys making an appearance. But I just thought last night's presentation was everything about selling the game, and just like I was in from the beginning to the end. I was in, and I would never be in for a game like that. Never. And it got me. So it's easy to say now that Tampa came back and won. But what do you think about Jeremy Swayman? He didn't just get in a goalie fight last night. He caused the goalie fight. Like Jeremy Swayman, who got mad for no reason at a scrum in front and then went and pounded on a player and then was like, yeah, I'm going down the ice. And Vasilevsky almost had to come with him. Up 5-2 in the middle of the second period. Are you, if you're a Boston Bruin player, are you okay with that?
I think so. I mean, I saw a video of the reaction from the bench, and Pasternak was practically leaping off of it, jumping for joy, grabbing at McAvoy. Like he was stoked about it. I would be too. I mean, I do think if this wasn't the Winter Classic, if this was just a regular season game between the Bruins and the Lightning at TD Garden, that's not happening.
No.
But no, I think it was awesome. And as a player, I would have loved it. Like, why not? Have some fun. Try to get something going.
Oh, for sure. But it did rile up Tampa. It riled up the fans. It riled up everybody. And then Tampa comes back to win. And your team doesn't score another goal. And you give up 4 after that and lose the hockey game.
I don't think that's on Swayman.
I would agree. I'm just saying he did something that riled up the emotion and the energy for the other team in the crowd. That's all I'm saying. Like in a game like that where the intriguing part where Boston is, right? Like they're not exactly home and cooled. So you would like to think that your team could hold off. And after that, the penalties they took in that game, like just so dumb. So dumb.
I did see that going into that. Those were the two most penalized teams in the NHL going up against each other.
Yeah, Boston's 1, Tampa's 2. And then Boston, like right into it, like down 2 men, and I forget who it was again, grabbed the puck, threw it like Ridley Gregg did, kind of. Like, what are you doing? And it caused, a 5-on-3 goal. Anyway, I thought last night was tremendous theater. And I do not like, I am out on those type of games, the series that like, I just don't care for it. And last night it got me, which I can't believe it did. All right. Defenseman Ethan says, according to the Sens lineup, Shabbat will play tonight. Thank you for that, Ethan. And we didn't mention that Chris Letang is out for a month with a broken foot, which might be why some of the odds are leaning back to the Ottawa Senators in this game.
Yeah, like I mentioned, Parker Witherspoon is playing on the top pair with Erik Karlsson tonight for Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
I do have the lines pulled up here. So Ottawa's are unchanged. So Batherson with Stützle and Giroux, Tkachuk with Cousins and Gregg, Nick Cousins with Pinto and Amadio, Holiday with Eller and Zetterlund. Back end, Sanderson, Zub, Shabbat Jensen, Clevin Spence, Allmark starts, Rammer backs up.
Okay. It's an interesting lineup. I like how you say Cousins and then Nick Cousins. Like we know that the other Cousins is Dylan Cousins. I like that. It's good.
I mean, we're not used to seeing Nick Cousins there up on the third line either.
No,
that's what I mean. But I mean, he had a great game.
Oh, he's been playing well. And you can tell his energy is infectious with the rest of the team. Barry Trotz announcing today he's retiring as GM of the Nashville Predators, but he'll remain in the role until they find a replacement. Guess so. Not a very good run for him, making the big swings at the beginning of last year, and it did not work out. And you could say, Nashville not much better this year. So it's been a tough haul here for. And maybe if I just find it interesting, like you're going into this soft deadline and then the trade deadline, and Nashville 3 points, 4 points out of a playoff spot, but still with some teams to climb over. And I think Barry wants to be not involved in making the deals if he was going to step down anyway.
Well, it's interesting you say that because he is going to be making the trade deadline deals. He's remaining as GM through the rest of the season, and the ownership there did say the deadline is all his, which is a weird decision, but I guess they're trying to find a more permanent replacement instead of shoving someone in there.
But I do wonder how much of that is really true, though.
Right.
Like if previously he would make all the decisions, and now he's going to have to run them by like ownership. He's going to have to run them by a whole bunch of people. But I know what you're saying. It is an interesting time. I think when you hear something like this close to this deadline, it makes me feel like they don't have the trust in him completely. And he is going to have to run it by some other people. Nashville in full fire sale mode. It's unfortunate they don't have a right-handed defenseman for Ottawa.
I don't think they're in full fire sale, though.
Well, how could they be? They're only 4 points out.
Yeah, they're 5-2 in their last 10. Like they were proper out of it at the start of the season, but they've come back into it. Mm-hmm. I mean, Trotz, he had a pretty bad tenure as GM if you look back on it. Kind of inherited a mess. He got 3 guys who were kind of aging out of their prime with Forsberg, with Yossi, and with Saros. No cupboard of respect whatsoever. He dumps what could have probably been a franchise future goaltender in Askarov and tries to build through free agency, which how many times have we heard from various hockey personalities, you cannot build through free agency. When this team probably should have done a retool rebuild, they tried to go for it and didn't work out very well for them.
No,
they might still make it, but I do feel like regardless of who's making their trade, their best move probably for this deadline is to just stand pat and see if this team can pull through. Maybe you send some UFAs packing, but like I don't think they're trading Stamkos.
It'll be interesting to see how they handle it. And that's where we're in this time with lots of the teams that, like, if you look in the East, yes, Columbus and Washington are 6 points back of the wild card, but they're only 4 points back of the Islanders in that division. And Columbus has a game in hand. So Columbus has got to feel like they are right there. Florida for sure feels like they're there, even though they're 8 points out of a playoff spot. They do have a couple of games in hand, and they're the Florida Panthers. So they're not going to be giving up. And then you have Ottawa and Toronto and Philly and Jersey that are right there. And I don't really know how they feel about their teams right now. Fire sale, not. And then you look over in the West, same thing. Like the Ducks and Kings, 61 and 60. Utah's got 60. San Jose's got 58. Nashville's got 56. Seattle's got 61. Like they're all right there. You have to get down to Winnipeg before you go, okay, yeah, the rest of them don't really have a chance. All right, well, as we approach the game, what do you think here tonight? What's your call?
I'm going to take the Sens optimistically. I want to see them stay in it here. I think it's going to be a tough one, a close one. I would lean more towards high scoring than low scoring, personally. Maybe in that middle range, maybe like a 3-2 type game.
3-2? 3-2 is not high scoring.
I guess not. No, like maybe 4-3. How about that?
Yeah. 3-2 would be an under. 4-3 will be an over. So yeah, that's a bit of a difference there. So I'm right with you here tonight. I think Ottawa feels like at the beginning of this trip, they have to win tonight. Like they just have to win. Because if they lose tonight, going to Carolina is going to be really hard tomorrow. And all of a sudden now, if you've lost 2, I don't know if you're getting that hope back. Tonight is just such a pivotal game. They've played well against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh scoring a lot of goals, but they are giving up some goals as well lately. And I agree. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. The game's more important for the Ottawa Senators than it is the Pittsburgh Penguins. But should be a great night because you got that game, but look at all the games on a Monday night. The Buffalo-Florida game is such a big game for both of those teams. The Islanders and Washington. Washington's trying to catch the Islanders back of that playoff spot. Montreal's in Minnesota. So just around, Buffalo, Florida, Ottawa, Pittsburgh, the Islanders, Washington, and Montreal, yeah, they're in Minnesota. There's 7 teams in the Eastern Conference that, it really matters to tonight.
I'll be looking at that Red Wings Avalanche game as well. The Avalanche pummeled them last week. So what sort of response can they give there?
Yeah. And that's not even kind of getting into the Western scene, but there's just some really big games tonight. So we hope
also playing.
Yeah. So we hope you enjoy the game. We will be back on This Is Overtime right after the game ends. Thank you very much, Ethan. Thank you very much, Gibbon. And we will be back after the game. Enjoy the game, Tanner, and we'll talk in a couple hours.
You as well. Sounds good.